Gareth, in our virtual world, we often find ourselves having to use platforms that are less familiar to us. So, for example, if you're a Teams user, you may need to use Zoom for a meeting. If a client, for example, prefers Zoom, or go on to use a Google Meet or any of the other platforms that are available, that can cause us some challenges, right? The obvious thing to do is be prepared, learn the platform, but I know that there will also be some very good tips that you have to help us really embrace those differences and make sure it works for us. What would they be?
Yeah, and I think, look, whatever technology you're using, look, first of all, let's be clear. Sometimes the technology doesn't work. It's not 100% perfect. What we're talking about here is, particularly if you're using a platform that you're unfamiliar with, what can we do to give us the best chance of making, maximizing the technology we've got available? This is also, by the way, important if you're using the platform that you normally use, because of course, on odd occasions they do updates and things like that, which can suddenly, get you out of kilter and think, oh crikey, what's going on? So I think first and foremost, even if it's a platform that you're used to using, there's something there about, just preparation in advance, before, meetings, just checking out in advance about how to use things, making sure your microphone's working, the audio's working, make sure the video's working. If you're going to use some of the technical functions, then of course, check those things out. Now, if this is a platform that you're very familiar with, you might want to do not want to do this the day before, but at least 10 minutes before, just to check in. If this is a platform that you're just not familiar with whatsoever, really strongly want to suggest, the day before, get a buddy, get a partner, just to run through, just to make sure all those things work. And I think, not only is there the technical aspects like microphones and videos and things like that, but, if you're going to do even basic things like, presentation share, well, we're still seeing too often people either not knowing how to share, their screens in this new platform, or even if they do know how to share their screens, they're not sharing the right thing. I've had experience, and maybe you have, Alex, of where people are sharing their inboxes, or if you're sitting in front of a customer, maybe a pricing spreadsheet. So these are the types of things that can happen and therefore can be avoided. Now, by the way, those things, if you have got spreadsheets open and not going to use in the meeting, strong tip, close them down. That's going to minimize the opportunity of making an error, for example, which could be potentially quite embarrassing, quite costly. But I think the key thing, sharing presentation files, simple stuff. Just make sure you know where the function is to do it, and just check it out with a colleague. Just make sure it's coming through. Log onto the meeting platform beforehand, making sure, for example, that when you share your presentation, it doesn't suddenly block your video screen so you can't see anybody. It's just those little things that you really don't want to find out during the meeting. Particularly, for example, with a big customer meeting, you really want to find out in advance, and therefore give yourself the best chance of maximizing the technology, to maximize the meeting. That's what we're talking about. Give yourself the best shot.
They're great tips, Gareth. And I think there's one thing that comes to mind as you're speaking there, that is that it doesn't matter if it's not your fault, i.e. something's not working effectively from a technology perspective. For the participants' perspective, so everybody else that's in that meeting, they don't care that it's not your fault. It was just that there's an error there, something's gone wrong, or it's not happened smoothly. So all of the tips you've just suggested help smooth out that and make it much less likely that something is going wrong. It's about taking responsibility ultimately. So, Gareth, great tips.
You want your meeting to remember for the outcome, not the things that went wrong.
Indeed, absolutely. Thank you, Gareth.